Okay, Alex, Ben, I believe we can start. It's like 2 minutes after 4. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to our next webinar in 2022. Today, we will be discussing Sectigo's PremiumDNS and why this product is the best option to protect your customers and will generate some extra revenue along with it. My name is Ben. I'm product manager of a provider responsible for commercial side of PremiumDNS, also SSL certificates and Plesk licenses. Today's event is organized together with our partner Sectigo, which is represented by Ben Gabler and Alex Pena. Hi guys, how are you?
Hi there, good, how are you?
All good here, thanks.
Hey Ben.
Hello. So during today's meeting, we'll be touching topics such as who is PremiumDNS customer, what are the differences between basic DNS that most companies are using and Sectigo's PremiumDNS, best go-to-market practices and product positioning, and lastly, what are the ways you can purchase PremiumDNS at Open Provider. Before we head into the actual presentation, a few housekeeping things. The webinar will last for about 30 minutes, and you can post your questions in Q&A section of Zoom, and we'll answer all questions at the very end of the webinar. Yeah, okay, so without further ado, Alex, Ben, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Ben. First and foremost, thank you all for attending and taking the time to join us today, and talk about our PremiumDNS solution, right? And more importantly, as Benjamin discussed, how we can actually go to market with this product. We'll go into the technicalities and all that. So let's jump right into it, right? I think that if we're going to talk about DNS, the first thing that we have to tackle is what is a DNS, right? And I think it's fair to assume that most of you joining us today already know the inner workings of a domain name system, or DNS as we call it. So I won't dive too far into that, but I do want to mention that at its foundation, the DNS serves as a naming database, right? Where its primary objective is to locate and translate internet domain names into IP addresses. And I like to compare this function to what a mobile phone does with a contact list, right? That it has stored within it, where it automatically matches names to numbers, making it so that we really no longer have to remember people's phone numbers, right? And that's really important, at least for somebody like myself. So what happens is that without the DNS, there's really no way to access any type of web content, right? This means that as our dependency is growing in the internet, so does the reliance on a properly functioning DNS. This DNS necessity really causes, if not all vendors, including probably most of you in this session, to at minimum offer a basic DNS service included in your primary offering. And that's usually a domain or a hosting service, or probably both. The good thing here is that considering it plays such an integral part of a properly running internet, the DNS has really evolved into more than just being a working phone book, if you will. It has a growing importance on website upload speed, uptime reliability, and the need for more comprehensive protection against bad actors. These type of technicalities and tasks are completed by a more optimized DNS service. And that has become more essential to websites, regardless of the website's purpose or size. So although we notice that the DNS is such a vital component of the customer's web presence, most buyers still to this day have no clue what a DNS actually does or how much on so many angles it contributes to a positive visitor experience. So what's even more interesting is that this very buyer ignorance, if you would, is actually fueled by the fact that most vendors, as I mentioned before, provide this customer with a basic complementary DNS service, really failing to educate them on not only what it actually does, but more importantly, what's its value, right? So you see, at that moment that the buyer's sales journey is going through the DNS purchase path, If they were educated on the importance of an optimized DNS, then they would really understand the value and how it actually solves their particular needs. And this is actually validated in a statistic acquired from an independent survey that was conducted where 1,000 web presence customers that were currently using the DNS service were surveyed, and really only 3 of those 1,000 users knew what a DNS even did for their website. That means that all 997 of them remained in what I call DNS oblivious state, right? Because they resorted to using that basic DNS service that was provided by the vendor at the beginning of that buying journey, because ultimately it was complementary, right? Or the vendor positioned it as an inexpensive requirement in their buyer journey. All right, so as a vendor, I get it. You know the incredible reliance on the DNS, but you also know that there's an immense lack of customer product and value knowledge. This really gets us to the ultimate question here, which is how do we sell DNS solution, right? And answering that question has to start with having insight and knowledge to who the ideal customer actually is. Because in order to optimize sales for a premium DNS, we should know who our customers are. And more importantly, what are their needs and what exactly are their problems that we are trying to solve for them? So on a high level, your buyers for most, if not all products, will fall into 2 categories: the transactional customer or the demanding buyer. Now, you can break these into more specific personas as you get deeper into the buyer paths. But for the context of this session, we'll just tackle these 2 common profiles. Now, for both of these personas, they basically have the same role: people with website administrative responsibilities for websites of any type of size or purpose. And this is really because, as we established before, right, every website needs a DNS. But yet the difference between one and the other lies in the knowledge each one has in respects to the product's functionality and the benefits it provides to them. So the transactional buyer falls within the larger group of customer segment that has little to minimal understanding of what a DNS is and how integral its optimization is to the website's performance. Whereas the demanding buyer has much more product knowledge. And this familiarity with the demanding buyer is usually need-based, meaning he likely experienced a website problem at some point, right? Whether it was a slow upload speeds, or maybe he became a victim to downtime due to web attacks. But the bottom line is that this creates a demanding buyer looking for a DNS solution that can solve the problems that were likely not addressed by a basic DNS solution, which is why the transactional buyer hasn't really done any investigation on any other type of DNS service. I mean, he probably either hasn't experienced any type of downtime or slow speeds or anything like that, or more likely than anything, this is probably his first time acting as a web admin to his website, right? And so the entire buying process for him is one that's really driven by simplicity and time. You see, this buyer he's probably looking to get himself quickly down that shopping cart journey, right? He wants to get himself online and live with his website as quickly as possible. So when it comes to having this DNS knowledge, they probably have little to zero, with no insight on its inner workings and its features and its values, unless, of course, you as their vendor educates them at the right time during that very same buying process, which is exactly where the demanding customer is within their particular sales journey, right? Although their path is still as transactional as their counterpart, the demanding customer requires more technical-based content that informs them on the features and all of its respective benefits that comes along with a premium DNS service that they're probably looking for. Now, this is why the demanding customer is probably not as budget conscious as the transactional customer, right? Because the transactional has little to no sense of why they should even pay for a DNS service. I mean, how could they, right? They don't even know what it is, and they're probably getting it complimentary from the vendor. Whereas the demanding buyer outweighs the benefits it provides over the cost, as long as it's solving that problem that they are pretty familiar with. So the bottom line in all of this is that for both for both of these DNS customer profiles, you need to uncover what their needs are and demonstrate how the premium DNS service solves that problem, right? I would say that the key takeaway here is that for the transactional buyer, it's an exercise in uncovering a problem they don't even know existed, while in the case of the demanding customer, they're probably likely much more aware of the problem and the solution, and your job as their trusted advisor is to demonstrate how your product will address their specific needs in that best way possible. So in order to arm you with all the necessary product knowledge so that you can ultimately educate these DNS demanding and transactional buyers, let's dive into the technical aspects of our ideal premium DNS solution. And who better to do that than Ben Gabler, our DNS expert himself. Ben?
Thanks, Alex. My name is Ben Gabler. I'm currently managing the DNS product here with the Sectigo team, and happy to jump through some of the technical aspects. So when we think about premium DNS, anything that you kind of throw the word premium in front of should have a very aligned feature set or result or solution. When you think about a Starbucks coffee versus the lobby coffee at a hotel, you're paying the premium for that Starbucks coffee because it's got a rich flavor, you like it better, and it maybe has more caffeine in it. And the same really goes for a premium DNS solution. So some of the things that really stand out here really tie back to what Google started enforcing, which is called Core Web Vitals. So without going down a rabbit hole in Core Web Vitals, one of the biggest pieces of time to first byte, which is the amount of time it takes for a request to get a response from a web server or a CDN, the very first thing is DNS. So you can kind of think of DNS as your very first stop when you're using the internet. Now, if your DNS is hosted on, say, a single cPanel server in Germany, but you have a customer/visitor on your website in Virginia in the US, they're going to have to go to Germany most likely to look up that response from the DNS provider. And there are ways around that in different resolvers and different ISPs, but typically it's not common that the public resolvers will truly respect TTLs. Sometimes they'll evict things that aren't very active just to make room in their caches for very popular DNS names and so forth. So with premium DNS, what you get is we're actually propagating those DNS records out to 250 plus locations around the globe. So that way, that visitor in Virginia that's got to do that first DNS lookup, it's going to happen in Virginia instead of going all the way to Germany. So, we kind of refer to that as smart routing, but it's also what's known as Anycast. And you may have heard of the term Anycast DNS in the past, and that's exactly what this is. So our name servers are announced all over the world, and that way the zones are also living all over the world, and our POPs can actually respond as quickly as possible. So if we had, let's say, a network blip in Virginia, at that point, it's going to automatically reroute to the closest POP that is online without the user seeing any sort of downtime or issues. So that's where the load balancing and failover really comes into play. Even if there was a traffic surge in Virginia, any of the closest POPs can also do we do what's called shedding the traffic. And that way we can shed that traffic to another POP that's close by. And ultimately just giving you this sort of, for lack of a better word, infinite scaling capability on your DNS, which is the most critical part of delivering your website when it comes to a network lookup. On top of that, you may have seen over the years various DNS outages from DDoS attacks. Similar to CDNs, we have the same type of DDoS filtering in place to keep our DNS infrastructure online 100% of the time. And we also have IPv6 support and DNSSEC. DNSSEC is a very big one when it comes to sort of ensuring the record is what it should be. So it helps prevent man-in-the-middle attacks. There's been cases where resolvers have a takeover in a sense where the resolver will actually start providing the wrong address. And when DNSSEC is used, it's actually enabling the client, which is doing the lookup, to say, hey, is this result real? Like, is this signed? Is it official? And if not, it just ignores it. So we look at this slide and I kind of mentioned the term 100% uptime, but you see 99.9999%. That's just because we're not delusional. 100% just truly does not exist no matter who you are. But in our case, what we do provide is the ability to fail over any sort of those pops automatically. So, we do effectively have a track record of 100% uptime, but when it comes down to that fine print, we like to be realistic just in case there ever was a network blip or a hiccup or anything like that. So now when we think about premium DNS compared to basic, so if we go back to that example that I gave where you're just running a single DNS server on every one of your hosting servers as an example, server 1 has NS1 and 2, server 2 has NS3 and 4. That's how I did it back in 2004. That's how we did it at HostGator for, even in 2010. So, when we think about it like that, it really creates a single point of failure, especially if maybe a server's offline and you're using Acronis backups and you need to do a disaster recovery to another set of IPs. If you have the DNS pointed to those IPs, that gets really difficult to actually update. Whereas if you just kind of have this anycast system that doesn't really matter and sits in front of all of your infrastructure, it makes it much easier to manage at scale. So, using a premium DNS product really removes that single point of failure when it comes to your DNS hosting. I do see some questions popping in, so we can definitely address those at the end. We have some time set aside for that, so I just don't want you to think we're not getting those. On top of that, again, the big benefit, speed. All of your clients and customers or their customers are probably at least learning or know about Core Web Vitals these days. I think one of the best ways to really position this product is to have an immediate effect on your Core Web Vitals with that time to first byte, and along with that smart routing to bring the DNS records as close as possible to the visitors. And then kind of the security aspect of it. We touched a little bit about DNSSEC. Very important when it comes to ensuring that your visitors are always getting the right IP address and avoiding those man-in-the-middle attacks. And then, of course, the DDoS protection, which also keeps your DNS infrastructure online. If your DNS is down, doesn't matter what your hosting servers are doing because customers can't get to them. And then the failover and load balancing. Again, extremely vital, especially in 2022, when people expect everything to always be online and immediately accessible.
Thanks, Ben. That sort of covered a lot of the important features that we were talking about that were really relevant for the customer profiles that you're trying to target for a premium DNS solution, right? The comparison between the basic and the premium service is vital. So now that we've covered that, the market landscape, right? And provided the insight into those two buyer profiles, rounded that up with Ben's summary on the product features and differentiators. Here is where we start getting to the cusp of everything, right? How do you successfully take a premium DNS solution to market, and how do you educate potential customers so that you can really accelerate their buying decision and really generate that revenue that you're looking for? So the first step is really to make sure you have a place where you can do just that, right? Share your premium DNS offering, a place, preferably a landing page within your online property where your potential customers can learn about the product, right? And all its features, and most importantly, its benefits. And this should be pretty familiar for all of us, right? Now, we've taken the liberty of creating detailed evergreen content that you can leverage in the development of your own landing page. These resources, similar to what you see here on screen, really leverage 6 ideal marketing methods that'll really help you simplify this sometimes complex exercise that most of us find from a marketing perspective. By now, it's pretty obvious that educating your potential customers on what a basic DNS service does should be the primary goal. And that's really because by doing that, we can immediately establish the need for something better, right? And that's sort of what Ben was talking about in the previous slide with the comparison. But it really needs to be done in a short and concise way, right? Which is key for online buyers who we all know they really have a tendency to have a short attention span, right? While for those demanding buyers, we'll need to dive into the technical features that pique their interest and exemplify that value of a premium DNS solution. Now, I personally fall into the buyer persona that is extremely visual. And I can tell you that having that ability to visualize a product in action, it really says 1,000 words, right? So showing buyers how the DNS works in a visual context can help you demonstrate its value to that particular persona. And then last but not least, I mean, your content should show what sets PremiumDNS apart, right? Not only in the case of a basic unicast DNS, but also against other DNS services in the market. So as you can see here, these are the 6 key components that we like to leverage when educating PremiumDNS customers on your offering, right? And it's all available in various written narratives so that you can quickly build your own landing page, and it's simply a copy and paste type of format, right? Now, although this exercise is important, even if you don't create this landing page, you can still go to market with a PremiumDNS solution and your current within your current customer workflow with the knowledge that we've provided you today. Now, from our experiences in the retail side, in addition to sort of our collaborative efforts with our partner ecosystem, and of course, as you could see in the previous slide, leveraging marketing industry standards, we really recommend 3 separate best practices on how to include Sectigo services within various purchase paths for existing and new customers. We've also ranked them highest to lowest in respects to revenue, to the revenue opportunity, if you will. So our ideal buyer workflow is the one that we call an in-cart path, which most of you should be very familiar with. On average, it should not be a surprise that the most successful purchase path here that's leveraged by our partners is this opt-out purchase option. I mean, partners that have included the Sectigo services in the buy online purchase path, when they're purchasing any new service plans, they've seen really a 35% attach rate. Now, shortly, I'll show you examples of this and the other 2 customer paths so you could see how to do this for your own customers. But for now, let's just talk high level on what they are, right? So for those partners that can take advantage of an in-cart that can't take an advantage of the in-cart, or even a bundle solution when customers are purchasing a new path, we suggest the opt-in workflow. This option really prompts users to add the Sectigo services during the checkout process, right? And it's really done with a simple click of a button. For this option, our partners, I mean, they're really seeing approximately 50% attach rates than the previous one. So somewhere in the area of between 14 to 16%. And that brings us to the last one, right? Which is the bundle option. Research shows that customers who purchase security products during that buyer workflow, if you will, whether it's a domain or web hosting service, they have a tendency to buy more extensive security package, right? So by bundling DNS services with plans that also safeguard the customer's web presence, such as, let's say, domain privacy, if you would, that really will show your logo's breadth of security services, right? And it'll also differentiate your brand from other competitors who only offer either a basic domain privacy or basic DNS service, and really that basic domain name service really it falls short in delivering that protection against DDoS and all these security vulnerabilities that Ben were talking about previously. So let's look at what it looks like, right? If you were to implement this, and what are the things that we can leverage in this in these workflows. When we look at the in-cart workflow, right? This is we're showing just a basic template of what you might see when as a domain provider. But what's different is if you add this component here, right? It's already in cart. It's already selected for them. But the key thing here is that we're exemplifying the fact that the word security, right? It's included with the privacy protection. It's a premium DNS service. And so automatically it gives them the sense of protection. Now the opt-in cart in the similar template, it takes them, once they click on the add to cart button, it takes them to the shopping cart. And in the shopping cart, that's when we start introducing the premium DNS service. And the key thing here is that we are, oh, sorry, we are exemplifying sort of the value proposition of what a DNS service can provide. For this example, we leverage the value proposition message of boosting upload speed, right? And the reason for that is because the transactional customer, if you would, remember, this is the customer that is not familiar with what a DNS service does. They can definitely have a message that resonates when it comes to upload speed, right? Improving SEO is a direct correlation of boosting speed, which most customers, website customers, understand, right? And so instead of going into the technical verbiage of TTFB, as Ben was talking about, we use a message like boost site speed, right? Because that's sort of what they can relate to. And we also use risk aversion, letting them know that 3 seconds, taking longer than 3 seconds can actually hurt them, right? So in a similar situation, if we were going down the path of a customer that had a security journey, right? We used the same process, but the message is slightly different. Here, instead of talking about upload speed, we understand the buyer's journey is towards a security. Now, this could be caused on whether you understand that your customer is redirected from a security page or something of the sort, or maybe you understand that your customers are more that the security messages resonates with them more than the speed message. So in this particular case, we definitely use the message of providing protection against the bots, right? And again, it's an aversion method, understanding that, letting them know that bot visits are prevalent and that they need to keep these bad bots away. And again, you can even see the color scheme is slightly different, right? Red versus green, green meaning speed, red meaning being aware of danger. So these are sort of methods that you can use to be able to introduce this opt-in card workflow. Now, if we were to look at the opt-in pop-up, right? And this is another another method of strategy. Instead of doing it during the in-cart stage, let's assume that they click on the add to cart button here. You'll have a pop-up, right, that comes up, and it takes up predominantly more real estate, if you would, on the landing page. And here, what we're doing is we're focusing on the value that a premium DNS service offers, right? And similar to what we mentioned before, right? Boosting speed, improving SEO, and blocking attacks. All positive benefits that a premium DNS provides that they may not know or are aware of. Also, we highly recommend you get creative with your call to actions, right? Instead of having add to cart, include either offers that you may have, whether it's free offers or things of the sort, or introductory trials or things like that. But more importantly, just get creative with the language in the CTA. In this particular case, yes, I want this special offer. But look at the opt-out CTA as well, right? No, I'll take my chances with a basic DNS service. Well, what does that really mean? Take your chances, right? That may redirect them to a landing page, as we mentioned before, that educates them on the difference between one and the other. A similar example, like we did before, where we are now talking about the particular threats that there might be, and I apologize for the format here. But yes, it's similar here where you're talking about the security, right? The protection against these attacks per day, the bot visits, right? And so the message here is, do you want to help block some of these threats, right? Well, get a premium DNS, right? And the subheader underneath that talks about what a premium DNS does. It protects against DDoS, eliminates traffic bottlenecks, and it does deliver lightning speeds. So again, getting very creative with the CTA, right? Add it and optimize my site performance. It really speaks to the value proposition of what a premium DNS service does. So let's look at an example on how a true partner, one of our partners, has actually done this. And this is a screenshot of his exact purchase flow. In this particular case, very normal here, what you see, right? You purchase a domain, you click on continue, and he automatically prompts you into this purchase path. Now, there are 4 stages in his particular workflow, right? Here is either continue as a guest or log in. Once you move on to the second one, it's an immediate workflow into protection and security. In this particular case, it's private registration, right? And this is an opt-out, right? So you automatically can click no thanks, or you continue, which will take you into the checkout for hosting packages. Again, upselling them into hosting packages, but ultimately taking them down into what we want to see, which is performance, right? Enhancement of your website. And this is where the DNS value proposition comes in, right? It protects your content from hackers and DDoS attacks. So this particular workflow for this partner has seen approximately 21 to 22% attach rate, right? So very successful on how they're doing it. But keep in mind that what they've also done is they've created that landing page that really speaks to the premium DNS solution. So now that we've gone through all of that, the ultimate question is, you have all these tools, you have all these resources and assets. How can you purchase premium DNS at Open Provider? So for that, I'll hand it off to my colleague, Benjamin.
Thanks, Ike. Great stuff. So yeah, basically there's few ways you can activate and purchase premium DNS at Open Provider. So the first one will be obviously our reseller control panel. We'll show in a minute a few examples where you can do that. The second, the third will be our Open Provider public API, which is already prepared and supporting premium DNS. And if you're using WHMCS platform, the Open Provider domain module as well supports the premium DNS. So in terms of reseller control panel, there are 3 ways you can activate premium DNS. So the first one will be simply in the domain checkout flow. So whenever you're registering new domain with us, the only thing you have to do is to take this small checkbox, advanced domain protection, which will add premium DNS to your order and eventually activate that with the domain you just purchased. Now, the second way will be to choose premium DNS as new DNS zone. For that, you have to head to DNS management section and add new DNS zone. Here you can choose either ours Open Provider DNS, just for free, and Sectigo DNS. Now, bear in mind, which is also very important, that you can activate premium DNS for any domain, even those that are not hosted at Open Provider. So we encourage you to do so and just use the benefits of premium DNS. And lastly, if you already have domains with us, what you can do is simply go to selected domain details overview, hit the edit button, and then just flip the small trigger for premium DNS by Sectigo that will activate premium DNS for your domain you just edited, right? If, for example, you have dozens of domains with us and you'd like to do it in bulk, just simply let us know. We'll gladly help you to do it and take this work from you. Now, in terms of API and WHMCS, we will be sending a summary email after the webinar, and we'll include there all the relevant links to our API documentation, plus the settings for activating premium DNS and WHMCS. Yeah, I mean, simple as it is, as you can see. Yeah, so questions. I see that we already have 2 questions on our chat. Let me just go through them. How long would it take to implement premium DNS or start selling premium DNS from my account? So like I mentioned, premium DNS is there, right? So depending on how you're transacting with Open Provider, if it's reseller control panel, it's just a matter of logging in, choosing the domain you want to have with your premium DNS, or if you're registering new domain, just flip the switch and automatically activates premium DNS for the selected domain. And in terms of the implementation itself, now it depends. I assume that if you are already buying domains using our public API, then, well, what Alex just showed you is the ways how you'd implement that in your domain checkout flow or hosting checkout flow, right? Which is very important because the whole communication there may strongly influence the attach rate Alex mentioned as well. And we all want to have it as high as possible, obviously. Yeah, so it is. I mean, if also in terms of the implementation and, you know, starting reselling PremiumDNS, if you need more details or you like to get, you know, more details on how to do it, just, you know, contact us directly. We'll, as open provider, we are here. We'll be glad to help you, you know, take you through the whole process, assist you with the know-how, how to position the product on your website. You know, we can organize even, like, you know, workshops, so-called, that together with your sales teams or marketing team, we can do it together so that you will start selling PremiumDNS with the success. Then the second question, what would be the pricing and if it can be based on the generated sales volumes? Well, the pricing depends on the membership level you're on, and either you're a member or you're on tier pricing. Now, in terms of pricing and if it can be based on generated sales volumes, I'd say yes. Now, it strongly depends. We will take this individually. So if you'd like to start reselling PremiumDNS, you have, you know, some marketing campaign in mind, you know, customer base, you know, how much customers you like to address, then definitely, again, we will be very happy and open to have a discussion with every reseller individually to plan such a campaign and offer you, you know, better pricing than the starter one you can see on the website. Okay, then there was a third question, how it is ordered via WHMCS. So like I mentioned, we'll provide the link to our GitHub and with the all specification, step-by-step configuration, how you can start reselling PremiumDNS using WHMCS platform. So please expect the email to arrive today or tomorrow. Okay, so we have another question. I'll take it to Alex or Ben, which is Open Provider already has DNSSEC, same as Sectigo, so that is no difference. I think Open Provider has also multiple DNS relays. The Sectigo has more DNS relays than Open Provider. So the big difference is DDoS protection. I say, yeah, it's the protection, which is the most important part here, I say. And yeah. Ben, Alex, would you like to add something else on that topic?
Sure. So I think the main difference there is going to be not just the DNS protection, but also just the footprint in general and keeping that DNS lookup time below 10 milliseconds or right around 10 milliseconds all over the world. So I would say the number of POPs that we have being over 250, making a huge difference.
Yep. So speed and protection bundled into one product, in fact.
And this, if I may add, this may be from a marketing standpoint, that may be a very important component or strategy, right? Especially if you are, if you know your customer base is extremely regionalized, and within that region there are limited POPs, right? So understanding how we deliver that value is key because that is how you incorporate that messaging depending on that region, right? If you know that speed is more important in this particular or would resonate, that message resonates more with your customers than, let's say, protection, because of that particular instance, it's important to leverage that. So understanding, that's why it's important to understand who your customers are, right? And what are their needs, so that you can sort of position that differently. And that's why we gave you two sort of examples, right? Whether it's speed or protection. And in either case, our technology from a DNS standpoint with the global Anycast POPs is sort of handles that, right? Protection and speed.
Thanks, Ben. All right, just wait. Is there any other question you would like to ask? Okay, I guess that'll be it. No more questions I can see. Okay, so thank you very much for participating. You can see my email address on the screen right now. So like I mentioned before, if there are any other questions or you need more details on how PremiumDNS works, and like I mentioned, we are very open to have a detailed discussion about how we can help you to kick off with PremiumDNS sales. Just drop me an email. I'll be glad to get into conversation with you and ask our sales team to reach you as well, so that we can work on the best market approach to build the success in terms of PremiumDNS sales. Like I mentioned, the summary email will arrive today or tomorrow, and well, I invite you to more webinars from Open Provider in the future. Thank you very much and have a nice afternoon. Cheers. Bye.